who have been directly impacted by the unimaginable flooding within the Texas Hill Country. And as I've given into interviews tonight in the last few days, I'm reminded that Texans help Texans. And that's really what you've seen here tonight. So from the bottom of our heart, thank you not just for being here this evening, but for your generosity to help serve our neighbors that are in desperate need. So many of us have grieving friends, family, loved ones, neighbors, and even strangers. I know each of us has been captivated, maybe even in a healthy way, pouring over social media and news channel footage, just asking the question why, how it's happened, especially to precious babies that were killed in the flood. We have our very own friend and family member here for her, Pat Green, who lost his brother and his entire family. We also would be remiss if we don't think about our first responders that are still there today, and I'll talk about that in a moment. Think about what they faced in the last week and continue to face as recovery efforts continue. A special thanks to my faith cabinet that joined us tonight. Thank you for representing all faiths across the city of Fort Worth, because now more than ever you are needed to minister for those in the region. We're here tonight to love one another in true Fort Worth fashion, to pray for each other and continue to show our support for those that are hurting. I believe that's what we were put on earth to do. Fort Worth really is the community that steps up, and I'm reminded of that tonight. A city of true passion, love, and incredible generosity in times of need, even for our neighbors who may be miles away tonight. I'm heartened by the countless community members, businesses, organizations who have raised their hand to provide support for those affected by the devastation. First and foremost, to the Fort Worth Police and Fire first responders, who have been in Central Texas actually before the flooding began, and who are committed to staying as long as needed in recovery efforts. I'd like to give a warm thanks to two individuals that are here tonight who just came back from the Hill Country, Deputy Chief Ralph Diamond and Battalion Chief Jeremy Torres from Fort Worth Fire Department. Please give them a round of applause. Both you gentlemen are heroes, but I knew you were doing the work that you loved, and we are eternally grateful. Thank you. Several children in our community who have raised thousands of dollars in relief efforts by selling lemonade and cookies to their neighbors. A few little girls on Saturday, small but mighty group, raised over $60,000 on a Saturday. That's not bad, now is it? And local businesses and organizations that are truly too many to count tonight included Stockyards Inc., Tim Love Catering, John Bunnell Restaurant Group, Higginbotham, Cowtown Clay, The Bug and the Bee, Gathered Goods, Brook Wright. I could go on. My staff actually created a list of Fort Worth businesses and organizations that have stepped up to support the Texas Hill Country and stay informed. And this document is nearly 5 pages, single-spaced long, and continuing to grow. And an incredible special thanks to HEB and the American Red Cross for their generosity tonight in donating bottled water, but more importantly, for what they're doing on the ground. HEB alone, their generosity has been tremendous, and we know that we're in it for the long haul, for our neighbors in need. The road to recovery for areas and families impacted is incredibly long. So please join me and continue to wrap our arms around those impacted and find ways to support in coming weeks and coming months. The Community Foundation of Texas Hill Country's Kerr County Flood Relief Fund will direct donations to vetted organizations providing rescue relief and recovery efforts, as well as flood assistance. And you may see QR codes around tonight if you haven't been able to find those on social media, but we know it's a trusted source. Our hearts truly are broken, but our spirits are strong. I asked a friend tonight to give a message of faith and hope, and I remember that we have to move forward together, not just as this community, but across Texas. At this time, I'd like to invite Doxology Bible Church pastor, Chris Freeland, to give a few words. Thank you, Chris.
Hey, good evening. I'm really honored to be with you this evening, and I want to acknowledge what all of us feel. Moments like this are hard in every way, yes? So as we prepare to join together in praying to the God of all comfort, I want to take just a moment to perhaps frame the moment for us. I know this is a gathering of many different faiths, but I want to direct your attention just for a second to a scene in the story of Jesus of Nazareth that might sound a little familiar to us. The scene takes place just a few days after his death. Death had come to a person that virtually everyone in that moment believed was innocent. The worst imaginable thing had happened to the best possible person. And the people that loved him, the people that respected him, from all kinds of vantage points, all gathered in the same place to grieve. It's not hard to imagine the feelings that they were feeling in that moment, because I imagine there are a lot of the same feelings that we're feeling, even a week or more after this unspeakable tragedy. A magnitude that is still unfathomable and seems to get more tragic sometimes by the day. But what they all agreed on, we can agree with. This is not the way stories are supposed to go. Some of them in the moment had the courage to express their feelings. Some of them kept the feelings to themselves. Some of them were angry. Some of them were grief-stricken. Some of them felt betrayed by God. Some of them were numb. All of them wondered how a good and loving and present God could let something like this happen. And nobody would really say it out loud, but they were wondering if the God who had promised to be near had forgotten to show up. John tells us it was evening when they all gathered together. Listen to this from an eyewitness who was there. He says, on the evening of that first day of the week, when the disciples were gathered together with the doors locked for fear of the Jewish leaders, Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you. Shalom. Salam alaikum." And after this, he showed him his hands and his side. The disciples were overjoyed when they saw the Lord. And then right after that, he says, "Peace be with you again." Peace is a really important word to people of faith. It doesn't just mean what happens when the good guys win or when all the chaos stops. It's not just what happens when all of the questions are answered. All the way through the Jewish scriptures and the New Testament, when God talks about peace, he's talking about order that comes to a world that God holds together despite the chaos that seems to threaten it. And that's what we're here for, isn't it? Not instead of our questions, not instead of our doubts or our fears or our anger or our grief, right smack in the middle of all of it. And at least in this moment in the story of Jesus, he never once discourages their doubts. He never once discourages their questions. He never rebukes his followers for feeling fear or anger or betrayed, or even of wondering if they'd somehow been betrayed by God himself. All of those emotions were right emotions. They were well-placed emotions. They were the right questions to ask. He doesn't rebuke them for their questions, but you notice he also doesn't answer every why. Instead, he refocuses their eyes on the one holding all things together, and who, in a surprising twist, proved to have stepped right into the middle of the suffering alongside them. To prove it, he shows them his scars. If you keep reading in the story, John's eyewitness account, you find out some of their questions find their answers right there in that moment. Not all of them. Some of their doubts are simply eclipsed by something greater in the moment, but not all of them. Some of them, like Thomas, have to wait longer. And some of those questions don't get answered on this side of eternity. But they find a different focus, the presence of a Jesus who has conquered death. So what the story reminds us, even for a day like today, is that God is too good to be cruel and too wise to make a mistake. Even when we don't understand the why, we can find some comfort in looking back to this story. We flat don't know why God allowed these events to happen. It'd be foolish to try to explain it away with a soundbite, to give trite, simple answers in a moment like this that is not a trite, simple moment. But we can comfort ourselves by looking back at this moment and imagining these people as they stood there before Jesus walked in, wondering how in the world a good and just and kind and loving and present God could possibly have allowed what happened to Jesus to happen to him. when in that very moment he was doing the most good, most just, most kind, most loving, most present thing a good God could do. We know that in at least one story, God proved himself good when it seemed impossible that he could. Their view was just too limited to see it in the moment. So we can take comfort every time in our own stories we find ourselves asking why from all kinds of places between death and resurrection. So that's what we're here this evening to do. To go before the God who reigns above the chaos and right in the middle of it, to ask him to comfort us while we stand in the middle of it, knowing that he's not far away from any of us. He hasn't stayed distant. He's not uninvolved. He's not uninterested or unaware or unavailable. To us, to those who are still suffering, waiting for news, to those who are doing the grueling work of recovery and rebuilding, even while for now it continues to rain, we want to go before God on their behalf, knowing that he promises to be near to the brokenhearted, to help the helpers, and to draw near to us who draw near to him whenever we ask. So we're going to ask. As we hear a few more updates about what's happening on the ground that can help us pray informed prayers, we're preparing to go before the one who sees, who knows, who comforts, and who hasn't left us alone or without hope, not even for a moment.
At this time, I'm going to ask two of Fort Worth's finest to come up and give a few remarks. The first is our Assistant Chief from the Fort Worth Fire Department, Ray Hill. And as Chief comes up to the microphone, I'll remind you we still have over 20 Fort Worth firefighters that are there. And this gentleman has led an amazing team. Chief, if you don't mind coming up, we'd appreciate you.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Pastor Freeland. I want to start out by thanking everybody for coming out and showing their support this evening in this very difficult time. But I have the privilege tonight of discussing some of the outstanding work that some of our Fort Worth firefighters have accomplished during the flooding in Central Texas as members of Texas Task Force 1. However, as a community, I want everyone to understand that we stand in solidarity with all of the first responders that were called into action, with the volunteers and the healthcare workers who cared for those in need, and the hundreds of families that were affected by the flooding. Fort Worth deployed a total of 28 firefighters to the Texas Hill Country, where they were assigned to search and rescue operations across 3 different task forces. Even before the heavy rains and flooding began, teams from Texas Task Force 1 were deployed to ensure there were enough personnel staged in the area to begin immediate rescue operations. This type of deployment is routine because our firefighters train for countless hours to prepare for any type of emergency. Task force teams are incredibly skilled and are ready at a moment's notice to go wherever they're needed in the state and around the country. They have been needed countless times. There have been countless times when our crews have left their homes, mentally prepared to do the work, only to have returned and been canceled because the weather took another turn. The sheer volume of rain that fell in Central Texas left little time for anyone to seek shelter or evacuate the area. To put the flooding in perspective, many communities were overcome by an estimated 20 inches of rain, which is equivalent to 4 months worth of rain into 2 days. Members of Texas Task Force 1 made numerous rescues of victims stranded on the top of cars, clinging to trees, as additional rescue teams were requested from Task Force 1 and 2. Fort Worth chainsaw operators were also assigned from the Texas Interstate Fire Mutual Aid System, TIFMAS. Throughout all of the logistics, mobilization, and mission assignments, there was one constant. We were there to help wherever we could, whether in a boat making a rescue, searching through debris on the ground, using chainsaws to clear down trees and open roadways. There was no task or assignment too big or too small, especially when there were lives at risk. By now, you should have seen the footage of our first responders. You've seen the photos posted on social media, the expressions of exhaustion, exasperation, and grief. But it's not their own feelings that our firefighters focus on. They are driven by the expressions of those they are helping. Right now, there is no time for our first responders to fully process the magnitude of the devastation. There is only time to gear up and continue to work. Because these are our neighbors, these are precious lives, and our teams will continue to work without question until the job is done. So to the people of Kerrville and the Hill Country, you face unimaginable loss, but your courage is evident. We see your pain is real, and your grief is valid. The road ahead may seem impossible to navigate, especially when you're not sure where it leads. But you don't have to walk it alone. What this tragedy has revealed is something the floodwaters could not wash away. Texans' unbreakable commitment to one another and the Fort Worth Fire Department's commitment to always be there when you need us. For those of you who don't have specialized search and rescue training or cannot reliably or safely operate a chainsaw, here's what you can do to help our neighbors. Continue to volunteer and donate. Donate locally and support funds like the Kerr County Flood Relief Fund, Salvation Army Kerrville, and the Community Foundation of Texas Hill Country. Listen and learn. Severe flooding can happen in Fort Worth, so make sure you're signed up for Code Red mobile alerts, monitor your local severe weather conditions and warnings. And finally, continue to offer your prayers and support. Tonight represents not only remembrance, but also resilient unity and long-term commitment to help one another. In closing, Fort Worth has shown what Texans do best. We stand by our neighbors in their darkest hour. Let this event not only honor those who suffered and perished, but also declare our unwavering commitment to healing and rebuilding together. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Robert Aldridge. I'm the Chief of Police for the Fort Worth Police Department. Do me a favor, take a look around. This is how the Fort Worth community comes together. You always show up and give back. And in the week ahead, I can guarantee you our fellow Texans in Hill Country will feel our love and support. 1 week ago, our department thought we would be preparing for a recap to our community and city leaders about the 4th of July safety efforts. Instead, we found ourselves partnering with the Fort Worth Fire Department and city officials to help our neighbors in need. I want to take a moment to thank the community and city employees who donated. I also want to thank those who helped coordinate the logistics behind the scenes, hauling goods to and from patrol divisions and the fire stations. This is a daunting task and not easily accomplished. Currently, we have 4 massive vehicles, including a box truck, multiple trailers, filled to the brim with items desperately needed by the community in healing and by all first responders involved in the disaster relief efforts. This donation drive began as a concept and flourished into a citywide effort. I am thankful and grateful to have a mayor like Maddie Parker, who has a heart as big as Texas. She is why we extended our donation drive through this evening. Yes, please. So for me personally, I must tell you, seeing all of you holding candles and standing in unity tonight, it's healing for me. You showed that there's light in the midst of darkness. It's been a tough couple of weeks, but moments like this make me proud to serve as your chief and work alongside our first responders. So you may be wondering, moving forward, what can we do? Well, monetary donations are needed at this point. So while our police and fire department cannot accept monetary donations, we have listed the official Kerr County Flood Relief Fund link on our website, fortworthpd.com, and on the city's website, fortworthtexas.gov, or we have QR codes around this venue tonight that you can use. So some may wonder, what does the long road to recovery look like for our neighbors down south? Time, healing, and prayers. For over a week, our first responders and volunteers who live and work in the affected area have been surrounded by some of the worst devastation imaginable. They need rest, recovery, care, and support long after the donation trucks and the media cameras leave. Wellness isn't a luxury, it's a responsibility. We need to look after one another and remind each other it's okay not to be okay. We are Texans, which means we have grit. We are resilient. Grief may bend us, but it will not break us. Together, we will rebuild. We will recover. And yes, we will rise. Thank you for being with us tonight. Take care and stay safe. And remember, we are Texas Strong.
So I don't know about you, but music is usually healing. And when I thought about doing this tonight, I wanted to find a local artist that I love and that does provide usually a little bit of joy, but also opportunity to be together. And I've asked my friend Grady Spencer, who many of you know well, to play a few songs. Once Grady gets started, they're gonna try to light candles. The wind has died down, so maybe that's our friend tonight to be able to do that. And then once Grady concludes, I'm gonna ask our chaplain for Fire Department, Cliff Weaver, to come out and close us out. God bless each of you, and thank you very much for being here. Grady.
I have lost my appetite, and a flood is welling up behind my eyes. So I eat the tears I cry. And if that were not enough, ain't no just the words, the cut and tear and cry. When they ask me where's your God, why are you downcast on my soul? Why so disturbed in me? I can remember when you showed your face to me. As the deer pants for water, so my soul thirsts for you. And when I survey your splendor, you so faithfully renew, like a bed of bread for my fainting flesh. I am satisfied in you. When I'm staring at the ground, listening in bread feedback loop that drags me down. So it's time to lift my brow and remember better days. And I love to worship you and learn your ways, sing as sweet as songs of praise. Yeah. Why are you downcast on my soul? Why so distant within me? I can remember when you showed your grace to me. As the deep ends for water, so my soul thirsts for you. And when I behold your glory, you so faithfully renew, like a bed of spread for my fainting flesh. Oh, I am satisfied in you. That my sighs give way to songs that sing about your faithfulness. That my pain reveal your glory as my weary race. That my loss you show me actually is you. So I truly want is you. As the deep ends for water, so my soul thirsted. And when I behold your goodness, you so faithfully endure, like a bed of fragrance for my fainting flesh. But I am satisfied in you. Like the deck, sometimes in our life, we all have pain. We all have sorrow. But if we are wise, we know that the always tomorrow. So lean on me. We are not strong. I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. Thankful it won't be long. I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. Yeah, where is the Lord that you must be, that you must carry? You know that I'll stay alone, right up the road. Only you call me, so lean on me. I'm not strong, I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. Before it won't be long, I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. So just call on me, brother. We need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you understand, 'cause we all need somebody to lean on. Lean on me when you're not strong. I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. Oh, it won't be long, and I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. The
How you doing? If you will, for just a moment, I want to invite everybody just to bow their heads. And as we gather before God on this beautiful evening with heavy hearts, just take a moment just to feel some of the weight we've been carrying, some of the sorrow, some of the loss from the recent flooding in Kerrville. And in the midst of destruction and despair, may we just turn our hearts toward towards our Creator.
Our refuge and our strength in times of trouble. Father, we lift up to you the families whose lives have been forever changed, the ones who now carry the ache of absence, the ones who face uncertainty in the wake of devastation, for those who have lost loved ones, homes, livelihoods, and peace of mind. We ask that you draw near. Wrap them in your comfort. Surround them with your spirit. May they feel your nearness in every breath, in every quiet moment, and in every tear. Father, as only you can, give them your peace. May it shine into the places where the pain has taken hold. And we honor and remember those whose lives were taken by this flood. May their name be spoken with reverence, their stories preserved with tenderness, and their memory be a light that continues to shine, even in the shadows of grief. We thank you, Father, for those who showed up with courage, for the firefighters, the police, the military, the neighbors, and the volunteers, those who stepped into the waters without hesitation, bringing help, bringing rescue, and bringing comfort. Strengthen their hands, replenish their hearts, and protect their minds as they carry the weight of what they've seen and done. Let them know the deep gratitude of those they serve and the blessing of your presence with them. As the psalmist writes, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. God, this has been a valley, a place of sorrow, a place of confusion, and a place of deep pain. But you are here, walking with us, and as you promised to bring comfort, you also promised to bring peace. So today, we ask you to also bring healing. When the grief lingers and the answers don't come, help us to rest in your goodness. And when the way ahead is unclear, let love lead. Teach us to trust in you, not just in the calm waters, but in every storm. And it's in your name we pray. Amen.
That concludes our program this evening. Once again, thank you so much for taking time to be here. You're welcome to stay a bit longer. Maybe take your candle home since it was really difficult to light here. You can try and get it home. But from the bottom of my heart, thank you for showing up. And if you get a chance, shake a hand of a first responder, a police officer, or firefighter tonight. They're truly heroes, and we're thankful for them. Thank you.